into all this. We're recording our show live on a Facebook group page, which is called Taranaki Foodies with 41. So if you like to peek behind the scenes, please do so. Also, we have a live on YouTube and Periscope. Please join our omni-channel radio show. We are Lena Williams and Roy Foy, local foodies and the most FM broadcasters. Hello, Rick. Oh, I wonder why did he say that? German. Our videographers today are Olive Foy and Nathan Griffith. And our guest today is who? Francisca Kohunkunavine, the organic artisan sourdough queen of Taranaki, and her daughter Anna. Hello, girls.
Hola.
How about we listen to some music first? It is called Beautiful Flower by Indie Ari.
Which one? Album. No,
Album. Pronounce it yourself?
I just think I'm gonna say.
You want to say the whole phrase in German, right? What was the amazing amount of words from different countries because you traveled a lot. I used to speak German when I worked in a company. The headquarters was in Cologne actually, and because it was kind of functional, and I wouldn't be able to write a paper essentially, but asking for a key, left, right, my hotel, that was okay.
German is for me anyway, quite a hard language.
Yeah, for many people.
Why is that?
Because we have a lot of grammar.
And
Also, lots of structure in the language.
yes, and letters and symbols that we don't use.
Yeah, some of them little clouds.
Sim-
Yes, and for sounds that are so the
French up there a little bit. But,
Really?
the funniest thing, when you're overseas, you practice and you walk through or order African sausages or baguettes, you walk through, and they reply French.
yeah,
That's all I'm going to say. Yeah. But I do think, I think it's a good thing that they try.
I don't speak much French.
I'm shocked.
Do you study at school or how did you learn?
No, mama's cooking.
So what language do you speak at home?
German.
Yeah,
Oh, you speak German, you speak English.
Yes,
You understand
that's
English.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's called
pretty much
Esperanto.
she asked me questions and I just
Yeah.
answer it.
But my parents are in France, so that's why French comes in as well. They are German, but they live in France.
Oh, mixture.
Yeah, a good European mix.
I speak to my son in Russian and he responds in English.
Yeah.
And I regret that I didn't insist because he speaks with a strong accent.
Yeah.
And I know the lady who refused to speak at home with anything but Russian. So the kids speak much more fluent.
Yeah.
Very interesting phenomenon. But we're soft some of us are soft mothers.
I can do it. And am I?
Sometimes you'll know when you're a mother yourself. Just so it's very situative. Okay, so and I'm going to ask you about the song, right? You're going to tell us about it. It's not long to go.
So we're going to do the prizes on the Facebook page.
Yeah, whoever contacts and Oliver will look after if someone says something on the Facebook page, we will give them prizes. Do you want to announce the prize thing? What? So you're in English.
We could ask what's the difference between a yeast bread and a sourdough bread.
Let's go start. And those who already. Hey, welcome back to Taranaki Foodies Biz Area 41. It's Alina Williams, Warwick Boy, and our guest, Francisca Kohunkunavine, the organic artisan sourdough queen of Taranaki, and her daughter, Anna. Good afternoon, Francisca and Anna.
Hi.
Hello. My first question is actually to Anna because she had chosen the song we've heard, "Beautiful Flower" by Indie Ari. Why did you choose it?
I mean, like, at first, I felt, when I was a little bit younger, I felt a little bit self-conscious about my body and how I looked. So, Raymond chose the song because it really represented that you're beautiful just the way you are.
Wow, this is so genuine inspiration, honestly. A lot of older women actually struggle with the same thing, and I believe that any woman, a girl, male, female, man, whoever gender is, need to know that they're okay the way they are, right? So it's quite interesting that you came and you're so articulate. It's amazing to see you. I don't know who's going to be the star of the TV, you or your mom today. But what we want our listeners to know that we have four vouchers from our sponsor, Area 41. It's $25 voucher for a restaurant or a you can use it for a lunch or dinner or whatever. Warren just waves it in front of the camera. So during the course of the show, we're going to ask you some questions. And if you answer correctly and write it on our Facebook group page, our assistant videographer, Oliver, is going to tell us who is going to get the prize. So please switch on your cell phones and listen to what we're talking about because all the questions are going to be based on what we are speaking about. So, Francisca, you're known as a queen of organic artisan sourdough in Taranaki. How did you become one?
I probably became one when I was born in Germany. That's when it started because we grow up on bread and on pretty good bread. And yeah, always had it for breakfast and in the evening, and us Germans, we love the good bread.
Actually, quite agree. Bread, beer, sausages, sauerkraut, all good things came. I mean, good, 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 kitchen.
Ah, Küche.
Good,
Yeah.
good. Yeah,
Also
so
eine gute Küche.
yeah. And I myself really love German bread because Germany is the first place I traveled from Soviet Union, and for me it was such a huge cultural shock. I saw things that I have never seen, like I don't know, multivitamin juice, you know, or big pub meal which can feed about 15 people. And I went with 8 male colleagues, and when I bought one, they ate it all. So typical of this. So you do organic sourdough. Can you please tell us a little bit about what sourdough is?
Yes. So most breads that you find in the supermarket nowadays is made with commercial yeast. But the traditional way how people made bread for thousands of years is with the sourdough culture, which is some uses of um, a yeast, a natural yeast that we catch from the air, and a bacteria. And the process of making that bread is a fermentation. So, like um, the yeast beer, sorry, no, that's not the word. The ginger beer is a fermentation, or sauerkraut is a fermentation. And sourdough bread is fermented as well with the help of this bug, and it's so much better for us to digest because this is how our bodies um, can work with bread and have it as a good food.
Mm. So fermentation is basically a rotting, right? So sorry, it's rotting. It's like it starts to spoil. The bugs start to leave. They start to produce some things like in wine, in cheese. It's not the original product. It's when the bugs work their way through their life cycle, right? So fermentation is a live bug living in the original place that you prepared, and just in the case of a sourdough, produce things that bubble up within the dough, and it becomes really, really airy. There's cold inside, and becomes a little bit sour. That's where the sourdough name came, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So, is it a family business or is it a one person orchestra. What is this you're doing as a
So
sound?
I would say I do the main work, but it's really good to have my daughters around me, and then I can just quickly say, "Oh, could you bring these things to the fridge? It's really warm, and they need to go on the fridge." Or they help me to carry in some bags of flour. Or like my daughter Anna, she comes to the market and yeah, helps me setting up the table. And when I walk around, she looks after the store and does the customers.
Wow. So you have at least one cheerleader and helper and all the above. So Anna, um, what do you have? Do you bake yourself? Do you like eating? So, what's the reason?
I firstly grew in like mom's bread.
Wow.
And I do baking myself. I have my little kind of meager bakery, which is only got 2 recipes so far.
This is so cute.
Um, so,
So what do you make? What are those two recipes?
so it's a bunny bun, which is like a brioche kind of bunny shape, which is like a swell bunny. And then there's like this hazelnut and chocolate like roll. I love it like a cinnamon roll, just sticks with chocolate.
Do you ever go to the supermarket and buy like bread?
My dad would do, because they can't make bread. We don't even have an oven.
So
It's really terrible.
what do you go for?
There's this quotation marks German sourdough, which is not German sourdough. It tastes sour, but it's way too soft.
Is that the prayer one?
No, I think they produce it in the bakeries and the supermarkets. I know the bread, it's very, very dark, but it's not from rye. It's probably.
But that's
It's
actually,
also sometimes that. It's really terrible.
that's actually the following question is the breads that reportedly chosen to follow from the original style of Germany but made here. Are they, are some of them equivalent?
It's a good question. There are breads in the supermarkets that say sourdough. When you look at the ingredients list, then it's quite surprising how long that is. And a good bread actually just needs three things, and that is flour, water, and salt. And it's the process that makes it a good bread. And unfortunately, most of the breads that are commercially made have a very short process that don't transform the flour into something that is good for our bodies. And that's what the sourdough process does.
It's amazing. You buy some loaves of bread, I can't think of any particular ones, but you use a couple of slices and sit on the fridge for 3 or 4 days and it's somehow stay fresh, you know.
It's scary, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. Maybe you have a special aura in your house. Well, who knows?
People are going, I want the bread lasts 4 days.
No, but it's a good question. Food that just stays fresh, that is a little bit suspicious. And you mentioned it before, Olena, that sourdough in a way is decayed, which I wouldn't call. I would say it ripens or it prepares something.
But it's a live process. It's
It's
like
yes,
organism going through the
exactly.
live process.
Yeah, sourdough is alive.
Sorry, that's when you said that the commercial sound of bread to make yes. But are you relying on natural fermentation?
I only ferment naturally. Yes, I don't use any commercial yeast.
Because I believe that sauerkraut, good sauerkraut, and also kimchi are made of natural fermentation.
Mm.
Oh, he said kimchi, I said it to celebrate. Brilliant ancestors. So, the question, actually, two questions to our listeners. Francisca just mentioned what sourdough is. If you can write down what sourdough is and three main ingredients of the good sourdough bread, you might be winning a voucher from our sponsor, Area 41. So, yeah, please start. And we have a person who's going to choose those who are going to business vouchers and it is for the good. Please be nice to him as every judge likes nice people. All right.
Just to be clear, again, they go to the Foodies and say comments to it.
Absolutely. Yes. And the comments that are most articulate, and the most kind of comprehensive, and the most thorough will be the process of dining at Area 51. $25 voucher. Our sponsor at Area 51. So I know Francisca for quite a while, and I follow her, and I know her style and how authentic she is. And I have visited Villa Bumblebee, when it was original Bumblebee with those bumblebees emerging from the ground, the little hole. This was really amazing. It was like visiting a fairy house. And I know that you moved to another place, so Villa Bumblebee became an imaginary location or just a brand. What does it represent now?
And it still represents natural, good food.
Awesome. Do you do anything except bread?
And yeah, I have a little beehive, and I'm going to have honey again. I also love making jam and cookies, so everything that's yummy and smells good.
What's your favorite pleasure? What's the thing that is going to
um, it's chocolate.
I mean, it's actually good for you.
It is chocolate.
The mental health effects of chocolate outweigh the physical effects.
Yes, I totally agree.
And I think that well, you can't grow chocolate because we're in a different area, but you still can make things with chocolate. Choose, and I believe your daughter already uses it.
Yes, that's true. I occasionally make bread with chocolate drops in it because sourdough and chocolate are just the best. And then a good slice of butter on top. Yum.
We're talking about German chocolate.
Oh yeah.
Rita?
What would be the signature German chocolate or the good style?
Milka. We have lots of different brands. So we have whole rows of chocolate.
I think I remember Rita.
Because sport is a really good one. Lovely varieties. I see we have some more chocolate in the room.
Yeah, sourdough does go well with the chocolate. I mean,
Is the really dark chocolate that we buy at the supermarket lift making? Is that German?
That is Swiss.
awesome. So, Francisco, you have a very recognizable logo, and I see it. When I say it, I know that it's Francisco Starch. It is, remind me what it is.
So I brought one of my bread bags.
Okay.
Here the red flour comes from a wooden stand that I got from my cousin in Vienna many years ago, 25 years ago. And when I was looking for a logo, I was playing a little bit around, and then suddenly this wooden stand came into my mind. And I just love the pattern because it looks a little bit like grains almost. And then this flower and the simplicity and the like folk art somehow works with the folk art that I do with flour and water.
Oh, that's so awesome. Later on, we will take it closer to our viewing platform so everyone can see that. You put a little heart on top of your breads. And also, it's very simple but sweet. How did you come up with this idea?
To be honest, I can't remember, but it was
Just do
meant
it.
to be. So I put a little heart on my bread called CDY sourdough. It's the recipe that I've been um, developing over many years, actually mainly for my family. It's a bread with wholemeal rye and lots of seeds, and we eat it all the time. It's our favorite, and it's also the people's favorite. It is a finalist in the New Zealand Food Awards for health and well-being, and yeah, often when I give samples at the market, people would say, "Oh, this is yum, this is real, this feels good," and so I just keep putting on the heart because I make my bread with love, so people can enjoy bread again as a wholesome food.
Oh, wonderful. How many breads do you produce per week?
Growing numbers. At the moment, it's maybe 100, 120, and I would love to bake much more to give more people this experience of what a good bread tastes like and feels like.
As any business owner, there are so many aspects of business you have to look after. How do you sell your bread? What are your channels of selling?
Um, at the moment, I have a wonderful cooperation with Crazy Pumpkin here in town, the big vegetable shop. They focus on local food and invite more local producers into their shop. So it is almost like a little market with different producers, and it's beautiful to work with them. And it makes so much sense for me too that people can go to one place and get local vegetables because they grow locally as well, and yeah, can get got bread and milk, and they have beautiful tea as well and plants. So really good place to go, and I love that I can be part of that. Another way of selling my bread is through co-ops. We have some food co-ops in town, and so I'm cooperating with them. I'm also at the farmers market most Sundays at the Huatutu Plaza, and still looking for other outlets because my bakery is still young and I'm excited to see it grow.
The farmers market, do you have to make all that bread super early on Saturday morning?
Yes.
What time do you rise to the
Yeah.
Saturday morning?
That's a good question. So because the sourdough fermentation takes many hours, I actually start some of the bread for Sunday on Friday night. And then the fridge is my friend because it helps me to slow the fermentation down to a point when I'm ready to bake. Sunday mornings are very early for me, so often between 4 and 5 I get up and bake because freshness is super important to me.
Because your beautiful assistant here told you at that time.
I could never wake up at that time.
No, but she gets ready in time to go to the market, which is pretty great too.
It's nice to have someone else, talk to the customers and
Yeah.
answer questions, take money, give people local bread. So wonderful to have a team.
It's really fun to do it as a team. Yeah.
It's a wonderful time to have a second music piece, which is Brave by Sarah Bareilles. Bareilles? Is it pronounced correct? Bareilles. Bareilles. Okay, let's listen. Wow. So after the show, when people answer the questions, we will give it afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the main reach is actually happening like a couple of days later. But we're not going to leave it in here. We're going to take those vouchers with us.
Yeah, we should say, we should put a post on this page.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're the first to fix it, what should I say?
Oh, you don't remember.
Oh, I'm on the
Yeah.
side.
Okay, just say something like, win $25 vouchers from Area 51 by answering questions our life.
So you the first question, what did you answer?
The first question was what sourdough is, and the second question was what are three main ingredients of sourdough? Can you take a photo from this?
Yeah. What do you mean?
Add a photograph?
Oh, yeah. You want to do it on the phone?
No, I mean in here. If you press photograph, we will take a photograph from the screen.
Oh,
I mean glass.
I'll try. Yeah, there's a camera thing. Yeah, I'll try.
This is very inspiring song as well. I listened to it, and actually, when I listened to it once, I started to listen the second time because I heard it somewhere else. This song is from where? Not from. Yeah, but this is a slightly different version, right?
I'm not sure. Is it the one that you watched the video from? Where when they
From
down?
the movie.
I want you to see. Yeah, Ray. We watched the video, didn't we? When they were dancing in the street.
I don't think that's really good.
You choose just like a video, or just look at video. Okay. I'll just post that.
Yeah.
Phone. Just want to selfie. Oh,
Welcome back to Taranaki Foodies with Area 41. It is Alina Williams Warwick and our guest, Francisca von Hummelbein, the organic artisan sourdough queen of Taranaki, and her daughter Ella. So, we were talking about sourdough bread that Francisca makes, about the buns that Ella makes. And the question for our listeners was, what is sourdough and what are the three main ingredients of sourdough? So, if you want to win the voucher from our sponsor Area 41, please answer those questions in the live on our Facebook group page, Taranaki Foodies with Area 41. So, I have a question. What is special about your sourdough bread? Because it's natural and a lot of people can do it at home and a lot of people exchange this, mama, they call it mama, the fermented thing. Why are you so growingly popular? Why people don't bake it at home but buy your bread?
The sourdough process is quite long, and it's the easiest when you constantly do it. When you just do it occasionally, it takes a while to get into that routine and always remember the starter because it's a little bit like a child or a pet. It needs feeding constantly, it needs good temperatures, and it just needs to be looked after. And so occasionally I give sourdough classes and people love them. And uh, some of them continue baking and some of them just learn how long the process is and how much love and care needs to go into it. And if they don't want to do it, they love to be able to come back to me and get their bread. Because once you have tried the good sourdough bread, it's actually difficult to go back to commercial bread. Yeah, it's a whole different experience and it feels different in our bodies.
excuse me, being a bird of my this. And I'm just wondering if the strains of this native varieties here that flavor your foods and not to rise in image, are they different to when you bake in Germany?
That's a good question. Since then, I've been out of Germany for 16 years now, and my baking was different at that time too. So it's a little bit tricky to compare that. I'm sure that my bread 60 years ago tasted differently than it does now. At that time, I probably still used mainly yeast and a little bit of sourdough. Now I'm just completely doing sourdough. And I learned a lot over that time. I went to France as well to learn in the International School of Sourdough Baking. And of course, I evolved as a baker.
Wow, you went to the international school of baking.
Yes, only 1 week, but we baked from morning 7 till night time, and in the lunch breaks we toast bread, and it was all about bread, and it was one of the best weeks that I ever had, and I learned a lot, and
interesting that you mentioned that you have sourdough classes and people enjoy them, but they still return back to you just buying because the process is so long. Similar to my classes, very often I start classes on some ethnic dish, and then people appreciate it. But I used to give the recipe card, and then I asked customers, "Do you do this recipe?" And none of them did. So it's one of these fun things to have from time to time, but it's not a strong desire enough to change your lifestyle or habits or something like that. So I believe more classes you have, probably more customers you have.
That's true. And I also know people who, since they did the class, do religiously their own sourdough bread at home, which is wonderful. Because that's probably the first best thing is to make it yourself, and the second one is to buy it from me.
That's wonderful. So your bread is very expensive. I mean, $10 per loaf. I mean, some people can buy a meal for $10 on a special. And why people choose your bread instead of a $1.20 per loaf?
Well, I think they taste the difference.
Okay.
And they also experience that like, my bread feels good when they eat it, so they don't. Bread actually has quite a bad reputation, I found out recently. Lots of people tell me that they try not to eat bread, and that comes from a time when they just ate the cheap empty carbs. Uh, yeah, that are mostly available. When people experience what a real good bread is, they are happy to pay that money because they feel how it nourishes them, and they don't get. Some people get pains in their joints when they eat a commercial bread, or they get tummy aches, or they just don't feel good. If they have a properly made bread and they have the taste and they feel good with it, then they're happy to pay that money. And all my ingredients are organic as well. And people appreciate that it's not only taking care of themselves, but also for our planet. And good things have their price.
I agree. I was going to ask you about the anti-break a little bit. We have asked a question. I think it's a bit of a fad. And also, as you said, it's people eating too much cracky bread and forgetting how wholesome bread is. Like that. I mean, human beings have been eating bread for thousands of years. It's a natural, beautiful product, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I
Very
agree.
different.
One of my best childhood memories is a piece of sourdough bread because there was no any other bread then. With some honey and a glass of milk. So this was a snack. This was a breakfast. This was whatever when you're hungry, that's what you reach for. You didn't reach for packaged food or something like that. It wasn't available. But, I start celebrating again. Sorry, everyone.
I tell you, my matching story about bread is just like my mother is quite, what's the word, quite ahead of the pack in the 70s when I was a child making bread. And she made I don't know what it's called, the braided loaf.
Oh, yes.
I don't know, is that
Like
German?
a Stuten or
Yes.
Fala, or it comes actually, lots of cultures have that braided bread.
Plated, yeah.
Plated.
Plated, yeah. So she made that, and I remember that being really, really lovely bread. And then, with my German story, traveling as an 11-year-old in Germany with my parents and my sister and brother, and we ended up in this place where you buy cooking blocks, somewhere in the north,
Schwarzwald, south.
or south. And so I remember seeing all the shops with blocks, and then my parents decided this was for lunch, so we bought this big, round, almost black loaf of bread. And I was like, right, so I'm Vegemite on there. But of course, we tried it, and we had some beautiful cheese as well. And that's when I first realised that bread could be more than just whatever we actually
In addition to food,
yeah.
it's just a meal.
Yeah. I would love more people experience good bread, yeah, and enjoy it again because humans love bread. Most humans love it, love the smell of it and the versatility of it. And I would love to see how people enjoy it again and feel good when they have it and not guilty.
That's guilt as our enemy. And remembering my experience with German bread, there's lots of seeds, grains, nuts, dried fruit added to it. So how you fitting in this niche?
The bread that I've been talking about, the CD rye, has lots of seeds. Um, I soak them, so it creates a really soft, moist structure. Crumb is the word for the inside of the bread. And I also make one that is more a French style, that is mainly white flour, but has this beautiful crispy crust. I focus on just a few varieties of bread because I'm not a factory. I'd rather make a few kinds of breads well than having a range of 100 different things and they are average.
Very good. I like this emphasis. It goes with the TED talk that I listened recently about the end of globalization, like end of 20th century was about big corporations, big countries telling the others what to do. They were dictating the trends. But now little artisans, little micro influencers are creating those trends and there's much more power in them. And you're one of them, so well done. Congratulations. Awesome. I think it's a good time to listen to the third piece of song, which is Lisa Hennigan. And it's called, what's it called?
I'm the
Sorry, thank you.
It's, this is a great song. This is like an old ballad. I know it. Melody.
We always talk about bread when we want to be it.
You're it's a
Yeah,
little,
okay,
yes. It's a president of Songbird Society of Beer Advocates. He's doing so many things. But bread and beer go well together because beer is called liquid bread.
Yes, that's true. That's why I'm working with the breweries here.
Oh,
So
how do you work with brewers?
I supply bread to the Shining Peak and the Three Sisters.
Oh, awesome. In Russia, we have a product, liquid product called kvass. And this is made of a rye bread. So, first of all, bread needs to be dried, and then slightly toasted, and then fermented through, and it doesn't have any alcohol, maybe 1% or less than 1%. I love it. It feels so nice and nourishing in hot weather, but nothing really hates it. I can't really have it in a lot of situations because it's disrespectful. Funny. But I mean, it looks like beer. It's just much sweeter and malt.
Yes,
Yes.
oh, amazing. I didn't know that was made from bread.
Yeah, from the very, very dark and sour rye bread.
Yeah.
And one of the important ingredients there is actually raisins.
Oh,
So raisins create all the sweetness.
of course.
So
Yeah, and they have the natural yeast on the outside of the skin.
I didn't know that, but I just knew that you have to have a handful of
Yeah.
raisins once you
Yeah.
with wax.
Grapes, so this slightly powdery surface on grapes that's the natural yeast.
Oh, is it? Yeah. I thought it's a wax. No?
As far as I know, that it's
You know what it is?
It's just lager, German style lager.
You'll go there, I think the filming will not stop, right?
No. Do you know where it is? Yeah, I'm not a big lager fan, but I do remember being in Germany having some of the Munich style lagers, which is a bit more.
Weißbier.
Yeah, and one love was yeah.
Ukrainians are huge fans and Russians of German beer, and I remember those trips to Oktoberfest, and it's always advertised by a beautiful blonde female with lots of with big jars.
Yeah, with the special dresses.
And they say that it's because they eat good bread and drink good beer. I don't know how true it is. Welcome back to the studio of Taranaki Foodies and Area 41. It is Olina Williams, Warwick, and our beautiful guest today, Franziska von Hunnerbein, the organic artisan sourdough queen of Taranaki, and her daughter Anna. So it's time to wrap up. Is there anything else you would like to say? Any plans for the future? Any ideas that you're going to develop? Anywhere you're going to go?
Now, there's always dreams. I would love to provide, especially my CUI, New Zealand wide, so that everyone can have good bread.
You
And
want
of
to
course, there are other good sourdough bakers in New Zealand, definitely. But I would love to have everyone access to it. That would be the ultimate goal.
And you selling big anywhere you want to.
Yes, I will be at the farmers market from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock, and Anna will be there too. And will we make bunny buns? What do you think?
Yeah, I do. Problem.
Your decision.
It's not really something that I do every single week just because I want money. It's like I can bother to do it or not.
So money is not a big motivation for you, as I can see. What is the motivation to do it?
Um, hmm, um, to sell it, maybe a little bit. And because they don't buy it or I get to eat it all for myself.
It's a really good motivation. Person who eats their own bread means it's a good bread, right?
As a teacher of young ladies, I see a lot of potential here with a large personality here. What do you think you have in the future? Have you thought about that yet?
Or
Or what you're going to do with your life?
I had a lot of vision of what I want to do. Like I have a lot of ideas, but
But what I can see, very articulate, good public speaker, the person who knows how to handle himself within the professional situation. So I'm sure that the great future waits for you, Anna. So thank you very much for coming to the studio.
And you get a comment.
I just this situation pops in my mind. That's one of my favorites. When I hand over the bread bag, the paper bag with the bread in, and my customer receives it, and they say, "And it's still warm." That's my favorite.
I wonder if Sue from the bakery would be here tomorrow. I'm saying that one of them actually give them here that with your bread and her cheese.
And I can visualize work tearing it apart right in the public, putting it and starting to eat.
That's accurate.
I love Sue's cheese. I put it on my bread. That's one of my favorite things. But especially the blue cheese.
Yes, she's amazing. She came to our show and we were just blown away. The quality of the products are really high. So few words from our sponsor, Area 41 on Broad Street. Try the new cocktails menu suitable for Red Girls Night or groups get together or any corporate event. Ask the sommelier about their wines too. And remember that we have several vouchers to give away today at our Facebook group page, Taranaki Foodies with Area 41. So answer two questions. One is what is sourdough, and another one is what are the main three ingredients of sourdough. And you might be winning one of four $25 vouchers to have lunch or dinner at Area 41. Thank you for listening to Taranaki Foodies with Area 41. Now we're going to take some selfies and post them on Instagram and Facebook. Tune into 100.4 FM every Saturday at 4 p.m. Remember, there is a live recording of this interview online on Taranaki Foodies with Area 41 group page on Facebook, also on YouTube, um, and on Periscope. And listen to us on the airwaves as well. Meet you next Saturday at 4 p.m. on airwaves. Bye-bye, my good vegetarians.
What did I say?
Auf Wiedersehen. Tschüss.
So, we can listen something. It's not quite into the.
Oh, cool. You took it for 45 minutes. Normally, interview lasts minutes. But I was so fascinated with your demeanor and your drive and lots of other things. That was fun. Thank you. And it was you should advertise in the more because this is probably the cheapest way to advertise. I don't recommend it to everyone, but you definitely benefit from it because it's a local radio station.
Yeah.
And it's something like $25 per week.
Oh,
And I think you'll just make a deal with our
that's a cool idea. Thank you.
because in this case you'll be constantly on the radio. You'll be invited to some other shows. I mean, food show is very suitable for you. But also, if you come to the business hour, also breakfast show and other things.